foul trouble, Coach Blackburn sent Al Sicking into the game. Sicking immediately responded with 2 3-point plays, and shortly thereafter, another twisting layup to tie the score at 48. The lead changed hands several times, but Sicking, Paxson, and Jack McCarthy kept Dayton in the game. With less than a minute to go, foul shots by Ewell and Bockhorn gave UD a 2-point lead. Xavier's attempt to send this one into overtime missed, and Paxson fed Carmen Riazzi on a breakaway to seal the victory, 72-68. Dayton breezed by St. Francis to earn the right to play top-seeded Louisville in the finals. 15,763 fans in Madison Square Garden witnessed one of the best halves of college basketball ever played, which ended with Dayton leading 45-44. But the second half belonged to Louisville. After starters Jim Paxson and Bucky Bockhorn fouled out, Dayton was outmanned and outscored by Charlie Tyra and the Cardinals. For seniors Ewell, Paxson, and Derringer, it was their final chance for the elusive NIT Cup. But this NIT loss cannot erase the fact that over the last 3 seasons, these 3 played on Flyer teams that had compiled a 75-15 record and twice played for the NIT championship. Few teams in basketball history can match this feat. The 56-57 campaign was one of those could-have-been seasons. The Flyers ended the season 18-8, losing 2 heartbreakers to Louisville along the way. The first in overtime, and the second by 1 point in regulation play. Dayton made it to the NIT, and as tradition would have it, won the opener. The Flyers lost to Temple in the second round, and finished the season 19-9. With a nucleus of returning veterans, Flyer fans anxiously awaited the 57-58 season. The Flyers lived up to their preseason hype. The only blemishes on the record were an overtime loss to California and a 4-point loss to 2 of their traditional rivals, Miami and Cincinnati. Just as it had 6 previous times in the 50s, the NIT invited Dayton to their postseason tournament. Opening night pitted Dayton against Fordham, who battled the Flyers on both ends of the court for the entire 40 minutes. With the game tied at 40, Terry and Bucky Bockhorn combined for 5 points, and Don Lane added 2 more to give Dayton a 6-point lead. Fordham, who refused to roll over, battled back to within 3 with 3:25 remaining. In the next minute of play, Frank Case, who finished with 26, sank 4 pressure free throws, then stole the ball and converted a breakaway layup into a 3-point play to give Dayton a 10-point margin. Fordham again battled back, but Don Lane, who contributed 21 points, scored on a layup and 2 free throws. Then Hank Giusefic hit 2 pressure free throws to keep the game out of reach. Dayton destroyed hometown St. John's 80-56 in the semis, and it was on to the finals against Miami Valley rival Xavier. Although Dayton jumped to an early lead, Xavier led by 3 at halftime. The Flyers fought back valiantly, and a clutch hook shot by Jack McCarthy sent the game into overtime. However, Terry Bockhorn and Frank Case fouled out early in the overtime period. Having lost 3 starters to fouls, Dayton's hopes rested on the shoulders of Don Lane and Hank Giusefic. Despite Lane's Herculean effort, scoring all 7 of UD's overtime points, Xavier edged Dayton 78-74. Coach Blackburn's squad finished the season with 25 victories, and all 5 starters received NIT honors. Frank Case and Don Lane first team, Jack McCarthy second team, and Bucky and Terry Bockhorn honorable mention. In March of 1962, Dayton finished the regular season at 20-6 and received its 10th invitation to the NIT. Although Dayton featured 2 All-American candidates among their 5 steady starters, they had little depth and were unseated in the strong tournament field. UD's first test was Wichita, and the Flyers came away victorious, just as they had done in their previous 9 NIT opening nights. Dayton, leading by 2 with 11 minutes remaining, steadily gained the advantage, led by sophomores Gordy Hatton and Bill Shemielewski. They received help from Gary Rogenberg and Stan Greenberg. UD's second opponent was Houston, who you might say suffered from an unusual case of sophomore-itis. Sophomores Gordy Hatton and Bill Shemielewski, who teamed up for 43 points opening night, burned the nets for 56 against the Cougars as UD buried the Texans 94-77. The Flyers had earned the right to play in the semifinals for the 7th time, and their opponent, Loyola of Illinois, was the nation's highest-scoring team. Blackburn relied on his starting 5 for the entire game, and his 2 sophomores, obviously not awed by the grandeur of the Garden, combined for 60 points. Shemielewski finished with 27 points and 19 rebounds and hit 64% of his shots in the second half. But it was Gordy Hatton who killed Loyola. He not only ran the show, but he shot 58% and finished with 33 points. The stage was set for a showdown of the 2 NIT powerhouses, UD and St. John's. St. John's used the home court advantage to jump to an early 18-11 lead, but Dayton tied it at 25 and promptly went ahead to stay. Shem led all scorers with 24 points and was awarded the tournament MVP trophy. Hal Shane added 12. Dayton won its first NIT tournament with a balanced scoring attack, as Tom Hatton and Hal Shane averaged 9 each. Gary Rogenberg averaged 11, and sophomores Gordy Hatton and Man Mountain Shemielewski averaged 20 and 27. Shem walked away taking high-scoring honors for the 62 affair, becoming only the 5th player in 25 years to score more than 100 points in the tournament. This victory, before 16,000 fans in Madison Square Garden, was the most important triumph in UD athletic history to date. Although Tom Blackburn didn't bring basketball to UD, he deserves to be called the father of Flyer basketball. Coach Blackburn infused into the Dayton program a winning tradition, and in so doing, brought Dayton basketball into the national spotlight. In 1947, Coach Blackburn inherited an obscure program that had a sub-500 record since its inception and only 7 winning seasons since 1930. Although his initial season was a losing one, the Flyers' 12 victories doubled those of the previous 2 years combined. The coach's charm and dedication to recruiting offered a window to the future. University of Dayton basketball would not see another losing season while Tom Blackburn was coach. Coach Blackburn was at the Flyer helm for 17 seasons until his death in 1964. His teams compiled a 352 and 141 record. His 71% winning percentage is the best among coaches with over 350 wins at one university. Each year, only a handful of coaches reach the treasured 20 victory plateau. Coach Blackburn realized this goal 10 of his 17 years and won 25 or more in 6 of those years. By 1964, Tom Blackburn, always a tough, demanding coach, knew he was dying. During a dinner given in his honor, Tom told his former players, "Regardless of how hard I may have seemed, I only wanted the best for you and of you." Although his words showed a compassionate side of Blackburn seldom seen, his players always knew this was the message behind the coach's growl. Perhaps this speech was Coach Blackburn's way of making his final peace. Coach Blackburn was unable to finish the 1964 season, and with 3 games left, he was admitted into the hospital. With the season winding down, Coach Blackburn, from his bedside, discussed the final game against DePaul. He told his young assistant and successor, "Beat Ray Meyer and you'll be beating one of the best." Tom Blackburn died March 4th, 1964, 26 hours before the DePaul game. One of the most famous, or was